that join the chair parts, this frame here. So the bracket goes something like this, and the flat screws into the top of the rocker or under the trampoline supports. So that's how I'm assembling the thing together. I have a fixture that I've made that seems to be working pretty well. So I've made 2 so far, and I need to make 12. They are pretty close to each other considering. So these are the bars. They're about 1 inch wide and 1/8 of an inch thick. I got them pretty thick to support the weight of 2 people. And then, so here's my procedure. So I have this fixture. So I slide the bar into the hole. I apologize if the focus is not great. So this bolt is my depth stop to the bottom of this. This is an 1.5 inch aluminum bar. And I've got this 1/4 inch piece of steel because there's an incredible amount of force I got to put on this thing to bend this 90 degrees. So this steel is just some bars screwed together, attached with these machine screws to a 2x4. And then this piece of wood back here is just a spacer so that I can get my bendy thing to it. So as long as that bronze hits the bottom of this channel or top of this bolt, that's my depth stop. And then I take the other piece of this bar and I jam it in here. Sorry for the camera deal. And then the end of this bar catches in this notch that's behind here. So this will get me over. In this case, it'll probably get me over most of the way, and then I take this clamp and I clamp it above the steel bar. Whoops. So that it gives me extra leverage so that I'm not pushing completely against the end grain of that hole, but against the bottom of the clamp. So I'll try to demonstrate here. All right, so yes, that is not ideal. So then I need to smash this on the in the vise to make it 90 degrees. And for that, I need my big frickin' hammer. I apologize for the noise. All right, so that left a pretty reasonable turn. And it's pretty close to this guy. So now I put it in the fixture and do it again and bend it over again. Right, but first I have to cut it to length. And what's interesting is that the distance from the inside face to the center of 1 inch indicates that I consumed 1.5 inches for the height, plus 1/2 inch for the width. These are supposed to be about 1 inch inside, plus 1/8. So actually it's about 2 1/8 inches from the top of here around to the center of the eventual center of the bracket. Whereas it should have, so the turn here is basically consuming 1/8 of an inch of bar. About. So after cutting it to length, put it back in here, bottom it out, bar. I use this screwdriver to give me a little bit more leverage to make it higher up. Down. All right, folks. So this is the initial trial dry fit. So the frame has four coats of varnish. One that was thinned about 50%, one, I don't know, 30 to 25%, and then two that were, on the order of 20% or so. So this is the Epiphanes varnish. Here I've got this can here. This stuff is beautiful stuff. As you can tell, just with 4 coats, I get a really nice sheen on it. Fills the grain pretty well. Sanded between with 220, I think. And it looks good. It just takes a really long time to dry. The can says 24 hours. I would give it 48 between coats, 36 to 48, just to give it a chance to harden up so you can sand it. This has been dry for 2 weeks, and it's very, got a lot of, it's very, I don't know, it's super smooth, obviously. When the two varnish surfaces touch, they don't rub. There's a lot of surface friction between them, even though they're super smooth. I guess the varnish just has to harden more, but it's a really beautiful finish. If you're able to be patient and let it dry. So I was able to sit in this single one just to verify that these points underneath are correct before I drilled the holes in the other two. And it seems plenty strong. Just me laying in one by itself, obviously my weight would be distributed to the other one if it had a sling in it. But no, it's turned out well so far. Wife has seen it and approves. Doesn't want it to go outside, but look, I spent a lot of time and expense to make it so it can go outside. Overkill. And we'll see how it turns out. Anyway, that's it for now. Show you what I'm doing here. So I'm attaching these brackets, and each bracket has a letter on it because each bracket fits in a particular location, mostly because the widths are different because of my bracket making process. Anyway, so I wrote a letter in the bottom of the bracket. It corresponds with the letter where the bracket goes. There you go, there's the F. So if I orient the F correctly, no, that's wrong, like that, then that's how it goes. Now, the holes are meant to be symmetric across the center line, but the other issue is these holes here. When I assembled it, if I had to rotate it to get it to fit better, that's what the letter alignment accomplishes. And then I'm just using plumber's putty as my bedding compound on the suggestion, I think, of Nomad Boat Building channel. And then my my tire underneath, I call it a tire, the protector for the bottom of the rocker rail is this neoprene rubber self-adhesive stuff. And since these rails are 1 inch, I didn't want to get 1 inch wide rubber, so I found 1/2 inch, and that'll just protect the varnish on the bottom, keep it from getting all dinged up and letting into water. Anyway, continue. folks, so what I'm doing here is I'm putting grommets in the trampoline. I found this material at Joann Fabrics near us, and it wasn't cheap. It was $20 a yard for what, about 54, 57-inch width, something like that. This chair is 48 inches wide, and I want it to wrap around the rails. So I've got just enough material to go around the rails and then under a little bit, so that I can put these grommets in and use some paracord to tighten it up. So I used contact cement on the underside here. It's extremely windy today, and I was fighting the wind and getting debris in it and stuff like that. But in the end, this will be relatively hidden, so I'm not too worried about it. But so I basically sprayed twice the width of the seam here, folded it over to hold it while I grommet it, and then grommeting. So these blue tabs here are places where I don't want grommets, because this will be the support board under the neck that'll go between the outside curved rails to keep the curved rails from rolling towards each other. I'll explain that later. This is the space for the leg support, and then this is the space for a leg support, and then the other I'll call it a spreader bar, I guess, and then I'll just keep going down the end. Now this part right here is effectively what I need to fold over for the bottom, because I don't know the exact length of it yet. I won't know really until I kind of strap it all up and just see how things lay around the curve. But that's basically that. So the spreader bars, so the way this curved support or curved beam here is attached, of course, it can flex like this. And also, if there's a torque, the trampoline is going to be wanting to rotate the top toward the other side, and that's going to put an incredible amount of stress on these screws and the bolt, and of course this wood here. So I can't just have these guys loose and have a person sitting in the trampoline and all that tension wanting to rotate this thing in. So I have to attach some spreader bars that go from here to the other side to counteract that torquing that wants to rotate these in. And which means that I'll have to have a fair, like maybe as many as 5 screws holding this thing to the bottom here. And then it won't be attached to the middle, of course, because that's just floating. And so I'll have one here, and then one here. It's here because this is where the underside of your knees are, so there's no nothing's really pushing on the trampoline that much in that area. And this area here is about where where your neck is. Your shoulders are about in this area, and your head is about up here. So having a beam going across under your neck, probably you're not going to feel that. So, and I may end up putting a cushion on here anyway. So anyway, that's the last. These 2 spreaders are the last pieces of wood that I still have to make. I keep kicking myself in the butt for not remembering to make those when I have the tools. But anyway, I'll be working on that eventually. right, folks. Cindy's chair is done as far as it goes right now. I got the trampoline on. Obviously loose strings hanging off, but it's pretty comfortable. And there's obviously the trampoline needs to be replaced, or actually I should probably do it with slats, because you know the grommets here are just, this fabric isn't the right stuff for it. It's just pulling on it, and you got to have a lot of tension on it. The location of this brace right here seems to be pretty good. It's like at the very top of my shoulders. I could have made it an inch or two higher. And likewise, the brace under your legs here, I could have moved it. This is a little crappy. I could have moved that another inch or so this way, and it would have been right where the hollow of your leg is, and you'd never feel it. Otherwise, it is pretty comfortable, like the old chair was, and looks pretty cool. Anyway, I hope she likes it. Talk to you later.